Okay, y'all, one more little bit about cost over revenue and a final thought that's going to carry throughout looking at all of the metrics you currently use and also moving forward to whatever metrics we begin to use. The first thing is the three main concerns I have with the current cost over revenue structure is, number one, it doesn't actually have a dollar amount attached to it. That's a huge one. If it's the only measure we're using to look at expense to the college, then it has to measure expense. If it's supposed to be measuring expense, C over R also fails in that it doesn't identify many expensive programs. I mean, currently, depending on how you define expensive, if you define it as negative net profit, there are quite a few programs that are actually more net negative than the ones that are being flagged. That's the second concern. And the third concern, as we just saw in the last video, is that small programs are getting flagged not necessarily because they're very expensive, but because they're small. So those are three big concerns that I have with cost over revenue. But maybe the biggest concern moving forward, even if we end up scratching cost over revenue, we still have these thresholds, right? These benchmark and critical thresholds, and we might end up not using benchmark and critical. Maybe we just end up using a threshold. Those thresholds need to be tied logically to something. For example, a cost expense metric needs to somehow be tied to the college vision of affordability. It can't just be a random number put on a graph where we watch dots go up and down and sometimes trip it and sometimes no. It needs to be established based on some kind of a fiscal measure. So I want to plant that seed in your mind now, and we're going to keep coming back to that as we look at more metrics.